Well, welcome. So, if you're here, you're wondering, is the Bible true, um, or is it not? And I'm sorry, I'm going to disappoint you a little bit there. Hi, I'm Pastor Kevin. Is the Bible true? Yes. Could it have errors? Yes. And I'm going to show you why. So here's the thing: is this is one of the things that boggles my mind on the way we modern people read the Bible. That it's either all true or it's not. And it's a fallacy to think like that. It's called the fallacy of composition. No, this is done by people. This is something that if you invalidate one part of it, you don't invalidate the whole part. That's the way truth works. It just boggles my mind. And this is what I want to get to today, is that there are many things that we believe that are in every mathematical textbook, every textbook on probability, and we believe really happened. But we have as much proof on it as we do of some of the stories that are in the Gospel of Luke. So I'm going to start with the Gospel of Luke. So Luke wasn't there for everything, but he was there according to his own testimony for most of it. He also went and compiled stories like a journalist would. And he told us about it at his risk of his reputation and of his life. And so in this story, there's a woman that was bleeding for 12 years. He would have known, based on his reputation as a doctor, whether or not this story is fake. And he told it to us anyway. So here's the thing: is a lot of people want to claim that this story is completely myth and that there is no truth to it. And what I want to tell you is it's both myth and true. And it's not necessarily true in the sense that I know for a fact it happened. I know for a fact that there were people that put forth effort and they put forth pain to witness this. So this is what I want you to believe: that Luke really did interview a bunch of people. They saw a woman who was being ostracized by her society and being kicked out. She was bleeding for 12 years. She touched Jesus' cloak. Jesus says some stuff. She's not bleeding anymore. And what I want you to realize is just how improbable that is. And I want you to also realize that medical remissions happen all the time. They just are improbable. Now, let's go to another story. And I know that a lot of people are going to be clicking off before now because you aren't going to wait for the Monte Carlo fallacy. In Monte Carlo in 1913, I think it was 1913, it might have been another time, but it's around that era. There was a whole bunch of gamblers that lost a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars, on the roulette table. And the reason why this story is in every math book is because the roulette table had even odds on black come up 26 times. Not only was that weird, but it wasn't the same number each time. And 26 times in a row is so rare. And yet we believe this. Why? Why do we believe this? It was made by, the way we know about this was made by reporters who interviewed people that were there. So how is it different? Well, I can tell you right now. The difference was the people interviewed were not Jewish. They were not poor. And they were not first century doctors. So automatically they are automatically elevated. But I'm going to put this out there. They are gamblers. So why isn't that ever taken into account? Nobody asks why nobody after 7 times complains about wanting a new dealer, wanting a new wheel, wanting a new ball. Nobody ever investigates if this wheel was rigged. And yet we believe this. And now I want to explain what the fallacy is. So the fallacy is that every time that you spin the roulette wheel, it's about 50% to get red or black. It's not quite 50%, but it's so close that we consider it 50%. So the likelihood of getting 26 in a row is astronomical. It's astronomically low. However, the fallacy is that, oh, it's been 26 times, so the 27th time red is due. No, that's a fallacy. It's still about 48%. It doesn't matter. This is why it's unlikely for a family to have like 5 boys in a row. But it's still 50% each time. You know, the thing is that people want to assume that something that's improbable is impossible. And that's not the way quantum physics works. Quantum physics says basically everything can happen all at the same time. It's just some things are so improbable, they don't happen. And this was one of those events where it was so improbable, but it happened. And it just boggles my mind on why one is treated as true and the other is not. They're both the same kind of thing. A reporter talking to primary witnesses. And I just don't get it. I just don't. Why is everything exclusive or? That means that if you have 2 options, there's only one option that's true. Now, I'm going to give you a reason why both options can be true. Why both of these stories can be both true and they can teach a lesson. So let's take the obvious one. The one that is the Monte Carlo fallacy. Why is this true? Even though everything I told you never was recorded. All the things that you should be skeptical about if you're a real skeptic on whether or not this really happened. You know, let's take this for instance. A whole bunch of gamblers, they all bet on red. No, you haven't been to a casino. If black is hot, most of them are going to be betting on black. That's even if it's 26 times. After 7 or 8 times, somebody's going to be complaining to the house that this thing is rigged. Somebody's going to be asking for a new croupier. That's the dealer for a roulette table. Somebody's going to be, if this is craps, they're going to be asking for new dice. If this is blackjack, they're going to be asking for a new shoe. That's the number of decks that they put together. And since this is roulette, they're going to be asking for a new ball, probably a new wheel. And nobody did that. And then afterwards, they were going to be asking for it to be investigated. This is the way casinos work. This is the way people that attend casinos work. And yet that's not part of the story. And yet we still believe it. And this is what I want everybody to realize, is that if you believe this story and say the other one is impossible, you're not being honest. You're just saying that I trust these sources better. It's called the genetic fallacy. You trust the source because of where it came from. And the truth is that it doesn't really matter if the Monte Carlo thing happened. It doesn't. We use it in the textbooks not because it literally happened, even though I'm pretty sure it did, based on the number of stories I've read. The thing is it's in there because it teaches a lesson. It teaches us to think that the roulette table does not care what happened before. The roulette table doesn't care what happens after. Every time it's 48% to be black or red, and about 2%, a little bit more than 2% to be green. The thing is that that's what we're teaching on this. That's the important part of the story. You know, 2 things can be true. Something can really have happened, and it can teach a lesson. Now let's go to Luke. Okay, so the thing with Luke is this lady was ostracized because she's bleeding. This is not something that will endear you to being part of Jewish society. You're ritually unclean, and she's been unclean for 12 years. So she doesn't feel like she's part of the group. So not only is Jesus bringing her back into the group by curing her, He's welcoming her back in as a daughter of Israel. It carries another weight to it. And what really gets me is how many people on this story bet on red here. They bet on red because they think that can't possibly happen. And so therefore it is wrong. And it's my hope that if you listen to this today, that you scratch your head a little bit and wonder, maybe I'm not listening to things the way I should.